Many of you have written to me and have said, David, you've got to talk about the latest Jubilee Surrounded episode where Mehdi Hassan crushed 20 fascists. And I know that this didn't happen yesterday, right? It's been, I guess, 10 or 14 days since it took place. And the reason I waited is I really wanted to figure out what to say about it, because I think that there's a much bigger story here about these sort of the meme-ification of debate. And so let's see if we can kind of parse out where I am on this. You know, there was a point where politics really was about ideas with real substantive debates. You don't have to go back to like the Lincoln Douglas debates, but the whole point was people trying to understand each other, or at least pretending to. And there's a way in which this entire space has now become a game, internet blood sports, and it's really built for clicks, not for clarity and progress. And nobody plays this game better than Jubilee, and specifically Jubilee's Surrounded. So if you haven't seen it, the formula is like this. You take one person with some strong opinions or with a history of engaging in political debate, you put them in a circle of 20 people who disagree with them, you hit record, and it's designed to be chaotic and explosive. And the point really isn't to find common ground. Jubilee actually has a different show which is about that. I think it's called Middle Ground, in fact. But the point of Surrounded really is to make something explode. And so you can say it's about a conversation, but it's not. If you watch the show, you see that it's about outrage. It's about generating a kind of conflict and drama that gets clipped and it goes viral and it floods your feed, which gets us to this recent episode with Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi went up against 20 far-right fascists, really. I mean, I think that's what we just have to call them. He did really well. That's not what's at issue here. What really blew up online was the fallout for some of the participants. There was one guy who openly called himself a fascist, and he was eventually fired by his employer, and it became about free speech. But of course, when viral content spills into real life, your speech has consequences, and this guy ended up getting fired. So it's not just that these shows stir up controversy that gets generated, that gets turned into clips. It'll hit the real world. It has real world impact. Now, I want to be honest with everybody here, especially because the people at Jubilee might see this video. I've been invited previously to go on Surrounded. So far, it hasn't happened. The first time it was like, can you come out to LA the day after tomorrow? And I just couldn't do that with a baby at the time. Then there was one we had scheduled, which they canceled on me. So I may end up doing it. I may not. I don't think doing the show makes you a bad person as the person in the middle. But I think we should just be really honest about what it is. Before the last election, when I was in Vegas, I had my own viral moment, which I didn't create. It sort of just created itself. And it was when I did this show with Sean Mike Kelly. And I'm going to play the clip for you. I said something really simple. I said to him, when the U.S. puts tariffs on imports, American companies pay the tariff. He thought China was cutting a check for the tariffs. I explained to him that's not how it works. He was stunned. This clip got, I think it was like 40 or 50 million views. I would walk down the street and people who don't usually even watch politics go, I saw your thing with that guy about tariffs. And this went gigaviral, not because it was new or because I did like a nuanced explanation of tariffs. It was the reaction. It was, he seemed to have no idea how tariffs work. I explained it to him. It was impact and reaction more than nuance and depth. So just as a reminder, this is the clip I'm talking about.
So when it comes to Trump, do you dislike his policies or him as a person or both?
I don't dislike Trump as a person in the sense that I've never met the guy. So I think he has a lot of personality traits that make him completely unsuited to being president. And also, I think his policy prescriptions, to the extent that they exist and he understands them, which is a different part of it. A lot of the stuff Trump talks about, he still doesn't know how tariffs work. We're 8 years into this thing, 9 years in. He still thinks China pays the tariffs when they're paid by American companies.
Yeah, I've seen him talk about tariffs.
Very confused guy.
Wait, so China's not paying tariffs right now?
The tariffs are paid by the American companies that import the Chinese goods. That's the way it's such a fundamental, and I see you looking a little confused on this one.
Yeah, I'm confused.
This is the way tariffs work. What Trump did is place tariffs on Chinese imports. By the time the imports get here, China's been paid for this stuff. Maybe they get net 120 terms, right? But in a sense, China has already transacted. The American company who brings the goods in pays the tariffs.
Really?
You're kidding right now.
No, I thought he said he was raising the tariffs by 50 to 100% for Chinese imports.
You got to clip this. I'm begging you. You got to clip this and send it to me.
I'm genuinely
None
confused.
of this stuff is getting cut out, right?
No.
Oh, my God.
We post everything.
Please. The tariffs are paid by the company that does the importing. So if you want to build a building in the U.S. and you import Chinese steel, you pay China for the steel, you pay the U.S. government the tariff. This is why it's inflationary. Economists have looked at Trump's tariff proposal and said it would make stuff more expensive for Americans by adding the cost of the tariffs to the total cost of production. So that's the way tariffs work. A lot of people don't seem to know how tariffs work, which is sad because this is how people end up getting sucked into Trump's vortex. He says something that sounds good. I'm going to punish China with tariffs.
Yeah.
In this case, that sounds good. Chinese tariffs. They're paid by the American companies.
Wow.
That's why it's so damaging.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Send me this part of the
No, I
conversation.
will. I genuinely had no idea. I thought China was paying those.
Yep.
So this sort of thing is what makes Surrounded so addictive. People get a rush, right? You see someone like you say what you believe, or you see someone get attacked for saying something you don't believe, or you see someone getting roasted for saying something dumb. The whole point is you feel something. Sean and I didn't debate the merits of tariffs or when they're appropriate or how to do targeted tariffs. It's just like there's this dopamine thing, and that's why that got like 40 million views. And then what Jubilee does is they gamify it because the people in the circle can wave red flags to vote other people out, and it's sort of like Survivor for opinions. And the more extreme you are, in a way, the more attention you get. That's what these algorithms want. That's what Surrounded delivers. And the scary part is, and this is the part that gives me pause, is that the more that we normalize this stuff, the more that dangerous ideas start to look normal, like just part of the political discourse. Someone calls themselves a fascist on camera, and suddenly that's part of the conversation. Suddenly it's content. And once it's content, it's money. And it doesn't matter if it's smart or stupid or dangerous. If it gets views and creates an emotionally salient response, then it wins. And so that's what's broken. Now, we're using Mehdi's episode of Surrounded to talk about this. This is such a bigger issue. This has infected everything. It's in every platform, every so-called debate, every show. We're not really talking to each other in a lot of these situations. We're kind of like performing for clicks and likes and outrage. And sometimes good stuff comes out of it, right? I mean, with the Sean Mike Kelly thing, he created this moment, right? I didn't really create it. I was the guest there. But something good came out of it, which is that tens of millions of people, many of whom don't really follow politics or economics, got the crux of an idea. American companies pay the tariffs, not China. And so it can expose a real issue, a point of ignorance, but it can also divide. It can also sometimes legitimize certain radical ideas. So I think the point is, the fact that these shows exist isn't necessarily the problem. We just have to accept that it's not completely harmless. When we turn serious conversations into games and reward the most outrageous voices or emotionally escalated confrontations, we don't really solve anything. In fact, I think, and this is something all of us creators contend with, and we talk about it. When I meet up with other creators, we discuss this. In trying to get the ideas we believe are the right ones out there to the largest number of people, to create a good impact, we sometimes end up feeding a monster that is not a good monster to feed. So I don't think people like Mehdi, or I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong by doing these shows. We just need to be honest about the system and what the system rewards. And it rewards noise over nuance and shock and emotional salience over truth. Although if the truth overlaps, that's great, but it doesn't always. And this has consequences. And this is the entertainmentification of politics. And it can turn extremists into celebrities too. And that is maybe the most dangerous aspect of the whole thing. So let me know what you think. As I said, I was almost on Surrounded, and then they canceled, and then another one I couldn't do. Right now, nothing's on the books. Should I do it if they ask me to? And maybe they're going to see this video and say, David, we don't like what you said. But if they invite me, should I do it or should I not? Leave a comment, send an email to info@davidpakman.com. I do want to hear from you. Go Google your name right now, and you'll probably be shocked by how many sketchy websites have your address, phone number, even details about your family. Our sponsor, Incogni, is the solution. It is a service that will force data brokers and people search sites to delete your personal information so scammers, spammers, and snoops can't get their hand on it. It's also now part of their unlimited plan that you can do custom removals. You're no longer limited to just the 250 plus sites in their automated system. You can submit any link where your personal info is exposed, and Incogni's privacy experts will get it taken down, even if the site's not in their database, whether it is whitepages.com, trellis.law, DNB, or anybody else quietly publishing your information. Incogni will wipe the footprint clean. You paste the link and they do the rest. If you're tired of being tracked, profiled, targeted, this is how you push back. For instance, these sites are where scammers and spammers can get your information to then target you. Using Incogni can cut way down on the spam calls and the messages that you get. Try it risk-free for 30 days and get 60% off an annual plan when you go to incogni.com/Pakman. The link is in the description.